Okay, this week on the podcast we're going to be talking about Muhammad Ali and Kimbo Slice passing away, UFC 199, Cage Warriors, and we'll also be looking forward to Titan FC, so check us out.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from the Isle of Man in the UK. This is John and Mike's MMA Corner.
And like we said there at the start, we're going to talk about sad passing, really, of the great one, Muhammad Ali, and Kimbo Slice. I think, Mike, we should start with Muhammad Ali. You know, the enigma, the icon that stood for more than just a boxer.
Yeah, I was going to say he was more of a man than he ever was a boxer.
Yeah,
you know,
I agreed.
Like in my eyes, he wasn't the greatest heavyweight of all time, but I think he's one of the greatest humans to ever have walked the planet.
Yeah. He had a profound effect, absolutely.
I'd sooner be that than the greatest boxer. You know, he had a lot of really good ethical ways about him.
Yes.
And, you know, like we've seen a lot of posts and quotes from him and all that over the last
week,
days, I'm sure, like.
Yeah.
And, you know, that guy was all about doing good for the planet and for people. And, you know, he might have sound cocky and all that in the ring, you know, or leading up to fights and all that. But he did so many good things. Like, for instance, he would, in boxing, once a year, you have, if you're the champion, you have to defend against the number one.
Yeah.
That's just, so in theory, you can fight once a year.
Yes, you can, yeah.
But obviously people want to make as much money out of that belt whilst they've got it. So they fight maybe 3 times a year or what have you. What he used to do is sometimes he would find out that a fellow heavyweight might be having money problems or something might have happened. You know, I think there was one where somebody's daughter had a medical bill or something like that. There was something, or they were basically they were bankrupt or something like that.
Right. Okay.
What he did was, without anyone else knowing, he actually defended the title against them and did all the mocking and everything else. You know, and I'm sure some people would have said he was being a cock and all the rest of it for doing what he was doing. But what he did was, in giving that guy a title fight, he enabled that guy to earn more in that fight than he might have done in 3, 4, 5 other fights put together. And in doing so, got him out of the mess that he was in.
Yes.
You know, so he was very good, like, you know, and he would do so much, like, you know, and like he would stand by his word.
Yeah.
You know, like not going to the Vietnam War thing.
Yeah, he did a lot, and that's the thing, Mike. He's done so much outside of the boxing ring. That's why he was admired and seen as an inspiration to generations of people. And his passing, I think, at the end, it was probably welcomed in a sense of this physical health and well-being.
I was actually going to mention that. I'm not.
Mention it quickly, Mike. We'll be here forever, buddy, with you.
Yeah. All I was going to tell you is, like, I've nursed people with Parkinson's, and it's horrible. So I was kind of, part of me was pleased that he passed, so that he doesn't have to suffer anymore, and, you know, and he can now go on and, you know, he will live on in loads of other amazing ways.
He will.
And I'm also wondering, is he the biggest name to pass away in a year when everyone's passing away?
Who knows, Mike? The year's not over yet, Mike. The year is not over. You don't know.
I don't see anyone else who's had an importance.
Mike, Timmy Mallet is still alive. You don't know.
You know what? The Queen's doing no tours this year.
You know, you don't know. You don't know.
She stayed in a panic room. She is the Queen.
There's another name that passed away, ladies and gentlemen. Kimbo Slice is another guy that passed away this week, and he was actually building up for his fight in London against James Thompson. Bellator, heart failure kicked in, and 42 years old. It's just life, you know. There's no age on when you have a heart attack, or even when you have a stroke or anything. There's no.
Yeah. You get.
It's more common.
Where it's more common.
Yeah, it's more common, but it's not. You can't look at it as a guaranteed thing. Yeah, and it's a shame because he was a guy who transferred a lot of eyes onto the UFC MMA scene. because of what he did on the street fights online, and he was a YouTube sensation. And these YouTube sensations.
Well, can I just add something to that?
No.
He was a YouTube sensation before YouTube. He actually went out on a pornographic site. So if you might be looking up a porn. I don't know how you find that.
I don't know how. I wonder how Mike found out about this. Go on, Mike. Carry on. How did you find out about Kimbo? Let's carry on with this conversation, shall we?
Yeah. So he was actually he had some fights going out on some pornographic sites, I believe. And
yeah.
I said, like a friend told me this. And so he was actually able to be like. I mean, obviously, I saw his fights on YouTube. A lot safer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But you know what? It's so for some people that's all they saw of him. But you know, he was a family man, and he was very, very loyal, and
he was a beautiful person outside. Yeah, outside of the cage, he was a lot of people in the fight game who knew him as just a wonderful person outside of it. And again, it's just. This year has been a bit of a shame with, like, the Kevin Randerman passing as well. There's been a handful of names in combat sports, in boxing and MMA. It's just shit. It's just shit. Let's put it that way. But
yeah, no, we need to get to 2017.
Well, I know we need to hurry up the rest of this year. So we just want to pay our respects to those two gentlemen passing away. Let's move on to Ariel Helwani. That's basically news in itself, and the shenanigans, or I don't know what to say. Let's just put it as crazy ongoings. Mike is a good way to put it.
Yeah, it kind of put a dampener on what was an amazing night of MMA.
It killed 199 hype train, let's say. It just killed the whole momentum, and it's crazy. But Mike, Mike, do you want to try and do it do you want to try and give a breakdown of what was done or what was said, etc.?
Yeah. So basically, there was a rumour started by Ariel that there was a possibility of Brock being on UFC 200. That was announced. He was then asked to leave, amongst other people, from the press area, from 199's, UFC 199's fight arena, and also told that he wasn't welcome back at any other future UFC event.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, there was an uproar from social media, which I thought was... So later on the fight night, there's a promo video that goes out on the big screens and what have you, and for everyone that was watching UFC at home, and really good, showing John Jones and all other people off the card, and at the end, Brock comes on, and really well done it was. So it was confirming that Brock will fight at UFC 200.
Yeah.
Social media then fortunately righted this Ariel Helwani's ban from all future UFC.
Yeah, and Esther Lynn and Casey Lendon as well, who work for MMA Fighting.com and do fantastic work in their own rights as well.
Sorry. It then has came out, not confirmed, but kind of rumoured, that the UFC found out that Ariel was going to announce the possibility of Brock fighting on the UFC 200 and requested him not to announce it.
Now, Mike, like you said, rumours, this is from Joe Rogan's. Joe Rogan's been told this from word of mouth, and Joe Rogan's passed on information. Okay, so let's start right there with it's not being.
Nothing is 100% on this.
No, Joe Rogan wasn't there. It's just something he's been told by someone, and that's now. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, Ariel Helwani has replied back on Twitter about this and said, with all due respect to Joe, his account is 100% inaccurate. Never happened, and secondly, also enough with the mole nonsense. I've told you this as well, Mike, about the whole mole thing that you're going on about.
I mean,
it's nonsense again, and it's crazy.
Yeah, so we're not going to find out what was said at these things. We're not going to know 100% what was said. You know, and will this be the first time there's a little bit of fuckery? No, it won't, and it won't be the last either. If what Joe said is true, I can understand why the UFC did it. You know, you're a business, you've asked somebody not to do something, they've gone against your wishes, and you've then banned them.
If it isn't true then, Mike, but what if it isn't true? What if they did not say that to him?
Yeah, it might not be true as well.
So what if they did not say that, Mike, what would be your perspective on that?
Sorry?
If they did not tell him and say this to him, what would be your perspective of that?
I would then say that once again, I'm disappointed with the UFC for trying to rule the world.
Yeah, I think this is a classic example of manipulation, and it's very, UFC's done it before, other promotions as well. It's not just the UFC. We've got to remember this. Other promotions have bullied and hounded the press in a way, and what they need to understand, promotions need to understand, is if there is no journalism, there is no news getting out about your promotion and the sport, you are not getting the attention you could do. And look, journalists are going to report news. If they find it, they will report it. Accept it, get over it. It actually benefits you, the fact that they're talking about you. Because if they're not talking about you, you're not getting eyes on you.
Yeah.
So it's as simple as that.
It should be, how I think it should be down to a company to control, to stop the information getting out if they don't want it to get out. I don't think they should be handing out punishments to somebody outside of the company for saying it.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
But remember, Mike, I said to you about this. But Mike, I could bring this up again, Mike. But remember, the information doesn't necessarily have had to come from the someone within the UFC about Brock to everyone.
Exactly. You know, there's lots of different ways it can come. You know, it can turn up.
It can turn up anywhere, Mike.
So
yeah.
The responsibility of information not getting out comes down to the company that wants to restrict that. If they can't control that, then that shouldn't be anyone else's problem. I
think it'd be very hard for them to control that, though. I think it'd be very hard for any promotion or company to try and control that information getting out.
How difficult is it to stay 100% quiet when you hear something really juicy?
It is, and it's just, I think it's stupid. It's stupid for a promotion to try and do that, to control their own news. Yeah. They should embrace what these media companies are doing, and that's getting the word out. And it frustrates me, but they don't. But anyway, well.
But I was going to say, so with the outcome, which is Ariel has now been told that he's no longer banned, I'm very, very pleased by that. So even though I can understand if it was all true why the UFC did it, I'm very pleased that he's not banned. And you know,
it's the power of social media. The power of social media made a huge effect, and you know, I was on Twitter. Basically, I was backing Ariel the whole time because I think no matter what, even if he was maybe in the wrong at some point, it doesn't matter. I think their behaviour was absolutely atrocious. He wasn't trying to put the... Go on.
What I think is good about it is that it's the social pressure that seems to have changed the mind, shall we say, of the UFC's decision. You know, the fact that everybody thought, no, this is wrong.
I think it was hot heads. You know, they were hot headed at the time, and I think when things calmed down, they maybe just saw things different light. Look, what come from it though was Mike. Well, what came from it though was Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar came about from that announcement, and Brock Lesnar is fighting Mark Hunt. He's got the USADA exemption from having to do the 4 months prior testing to competing, and that was announced as well because everyone kind of asked questions about this. Because it did make everyone wonder how and what's going to happen with this. You weren't too happy about it anyway, were you, Mike?
No. I like level play. I don't like. Okay, I love Pride. Okay, I love the Pride era, and it's been recorded, and we can watch it. Having said that, I don't like the idea of any kind of drug use. In combat sports.
Right.
Okay, I don't mind that Brock may or may not have used it.
He's never tested positive in any test, by the way. Let's put that out there right now. He's never tested positive, but carry on.
Yeah. That's why I said may or may not have. But I don't mind if people want to use things, for cosmetic reasons or performance, as in.
Carry on, Mike. Carry on.
But I don't, like in.
But Mike, stop beating around the bush. Let's get to your point. Go on.
Yeah. And also, I like a level playing field.
Right. Okay, I'm going to throw that kind of fastball at you that I was telling you about. Let's say Brock Lesnar maybe came in short notice on a fight. What if they signed someone short notice, Mike? 2 weeks notice? Are you going to have the same opinion of them on that?
Yeah.
Right. But is that how can you argue with this case when it's maybe someone steps in short notice? It's not that fighter's fault or the UFC's fault or the Nevada. If it's a short notice fight, maybe what you're meant to do, say that card UFC 200, let's say, let's just hypothetical, let's say Nate Diaz gets injured but Robbie Lawler's available and they want to do Robbie and Conor. It's not going to happen, but I'm just doing a silly little thing there. But say Robbie wasn't available on that time, what would you do? Like, Mike, how would you say no to that? It's something that you can't. There's no right answer, Mike.
In combat sports, if you wish to compete in combat sports, you shouldn't be on anything illegal.
Mike, you're basically saying that the way you're wording this, Mike, is that you're making it out like Brock Lesnar is on something.
No, I'm just saying.
But you are, Mike. He got the exemption because of the way the circumstances were with him getting the permission from the WWE to compete and then being signed to the UFC, which then imposes their USADA anti-doping rules. Prior to that, there was nothing he wasn't even eligible because he wasn't signed on to it, so he didn't have to regulate to it. But he's never tested positive, so I can understand where they're coming from, because it's not Brock's fault, it's not the UFC's fault, it's just timings have happened. So like you're saying though that you're talking about steroids, you're like paying out these words steroids all the time, like people are doing it. He's never done anything. It's just the way that circumstances have happened, and the fact that they've broken it down, at least I can get a better understanding of it. And if you look at it from a short notice fighter perspective, that makes you think even more.
Right, so the chap that they just signed who just beat Paul Hara.
Yes, Meek.
Yeah. Are you telling me he's going to have an exemption if he fought on a Vegas card?
Yeah, because if he's short notice, if it's a short notice fight, you've got to have the exemption should stand for everyone if it's a short notice fight. Really, Mike? So how many? But the guys who stepped in short notice in Vegas before, Mike?
And they get exemptions from their testing.
They get it's not an exemption from testing, Mike. You're not listening to this. He gets an exemption from not being, because he wasn't available to do the 4 months prior. He gets the exemption that he can still compete. That's what it is, Mike. It's not that he's not getting tested, Mike. It's the fact that he.
Right. Okay. Maybe I've misunderstood it.
You've misunderstood this. It's not that you don't get tested. It's the fact that you're not doing the 4 months prior.
I'm understanding that he will not get tested.
No, it's the 4 months. No, you've got to have the availability of 4 months prior. He wasn't available for that whole standard period, and that's the same principle of a short notice fighter. How can you say that's for someone short notice if they're stepping in on 2 weeks? Right. It's not a fighter's fault.
Understanding, he wouldn't get the pre or post fight testing.
No, nothing. No, Mike. He gets every test. He is now under the USADA anti-doping policy right now. They can go knock on his door at 6 a.m. and get his piss.
Right. Okay. Maybe I've misunderstood that then.
I think you have some. I think you need to read. You need to do a little bit more reading.
Right, so just to straighten out, then my argument was I was under the understanding that he wouldn't be tested.
You need to do more reading, Mike.
On the night, or sorry, like the day before, or the day after, etc., or like a week prior or something like that.
No, you need to do a little bit more reading, and he can get tested tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. There's nothing stopping him. They can go knock on his door 5 times.
Yeah, the testing can start right now.
Right now. But yeah, it started as soon as he signed the dotted line. It was in effect, and prior to it, that he was educated on the USADA doping.
Yeah, probably because 4 months ago the fight wasn't made.
Well, it was that, but also he wasn't, because he was signed to the WWE and not to the UFC. He wasn't under any obligation in that sense. They couldn't knock on his door because he wasn't under.
No, exactly. just like they can't knock on my door.
No. So
it's
last bit then, before we start talking about the last week's fights in Cage Warriors and UFC 199, we're going to talk about Anthony Pettis. Just recently put a post out saying the journey to 145. It looks like Anthony Pettis is making the drop down, not having a great run, since losing his title.
He's dropped a couple of fights.
He's not having the best of time at 155. He thinks 145 might be the way forward for him. I hum and haw because I think at 145, it's going to be a hell of a cut. It's shown in the past that it doesn't always mean that it's the right thing to do is by cutting weight. Look at Dustin Poirier, went down to 145, wasn't the best thing for him. There's been Hector Lombard went down to 170, didn't necessarily mean it was going to be the best thing for him. I don't know how I feel about Anthony going down to 145. What I do like is there's a whole new lineup of fights and matchups to make. That's what I think I like about it. Automatically, I think Max Holloway, Anthony Pettis would be a horrendously fun fight.
Oh, yeah. Well, even against someone like Frankie.
Oh, yeah.
Do you mean there's a bundle of fights for that, in that weight division?
It would be good fun. It would be good fun. I like it. I like it. I do like it. I do. It's not that I don't...
I was saying to you off air, that guy doesn't exactly come in rounded. He actually looks lean already.
He's quite shredded at 155, and I worry about him.
Is he trimming his ankles off or what?
Yeah. That's my worry. Is that how much will that cut be tough? How tough will it be? How much will his body? How good will he feel physically? We'll see. We don't even know when he's going to do it because he might want to take a bit of time getting to 145. So he might have the next, say, 4 months making the cut and then sign a fight.
While we're talking about weight, can we mention the California thing?
I was going to do that on the 199. I was going to do that on the...
All right, okay, we'll do it then.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up then, but we'll go to Cage Warriors first because Cage Warriors back. This time they were on in Wales under the UFC, Cage Warriors Wales banner, which was on UFC Fight Pass, which was originally Pain Pit, owned by Richard Shaw, who I don't know how it's worded. It's kind of like he still runs it, but he does the matchmaking and stuff. But it's under the Cage Warriors umbrella. I'm not sure exactly how the ins and outs of that, but either way, the card itself happened. They had a hell of a lot of fights, 20 fights, a lot of amateur fights, but the main card itself that was on Fight Pass, that a cracking fight to start with, which was Sam Creasy versus Chris Edwards, and that was a hell of a fun fight. I went to the decision, but bloody hell, that was good fun to watch. And I was impressed with Sam Creasy as well. He had troubles at 125 making the weight, went up to 135. Looked really impressive, I thought, at 135. It looked like it suited his body, and physically as well, he looked in good condition for it.
Yeah, I was going to say good endurance as well. It was a good way to start off the broadcast,
Yeah.
And I mean, don't forget, sitting down watching that as the first fight. That's almost like it was almost like an extra prelim to UFC. Because for anyone with Fight Pass, but especially if you're a UK based, you're excited for
It was a good way to warm up. Then they had an exciting prospect from the amateur scene who did great at the World Championships in Jack Shaw. He made his debut on Cage Warriors against a Frenchman in David. I'm going to try and read this here. Tonatuif, or whatever you want to call him. And again, what I liked about it is that there wasn't much difference in experience, but Jack looked absolutely phenomenal. Like, just so dominating, so powerful, awesome transition in the grappling. Showed that he's got a lot of promise and a lot of he's a huge prospect already. He backed up that kind of hype behind him. I was majorly impressed by Jack.
Yeah, exactly. There's more and more ways that you can actually fine-tune your skills at the amateur level now.
Yeah.
To a really high level, so that you can actually join the pro rank.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I do like that's getting more and more like the boxing scene, is that you can really stay in those amateurs and really get your game sorted, and find out what kind of fighter you're actually going to develop into, before you actually take that step into the pro ranks.
Yeah, it definitely showed. I can't wait to see who they will put Jack up against next, and when he fights next. Really, I hope that he gets probably next 3 to 4 months he fights again. He looks like a kind of kid you can he's going to churn out fights. Didn't take any damage really in that fight. He was so dominant. It was I don't even know if he took any. I don't even know if he took any damage in that fight. To be fair, he just looked absolutely insane. It kind of reminded me of the Jose Shorty Torres fight, like his debut, just steamrolled the guy, just looked absolutely phenomenal. Another exciting prospect as well on the MMA scene around the world, who people need to keep their eyes on. Next fight to look out for on the card, which I enjoyed again. It was one of them ones where it should have been a cleaner and a bigger, an easier win than it was. But Nad Narimani and he was the guy who lost his he lost the title fight to Alex Englund, and it was a very close contest between the two of them, but he came in against Daniel Regilo. He's from the Canary Islands, so I'm not going to get that right. But Nad Narimani, he looked good in the first round, looked tired in the second, and then got that experience in the third to win that fight. And to be fair, like that guillotine choke was absolutely dead on, and that's something that it just comes with experience. When getting that fight in the third round where it was I thought it maybe potentially 1-1. It could have been swayed 2-0 to Nani, but it was close. But Nad, for me, I'm hoping that next fight he comes back, he's a bit more conditioned. He did look tired in the second to me. Yeah.
The fight started to go away from him a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a turn of the tide. It was a little bit.
Yeah.
That's where you have to sort of like reach into your class bucket, isn't it, and drag something out.
It was a good fight. It was a good fight to watch, though. It was good to.
He was entertaining and competitive,
Yeah, and it gives Nad that another win. It keeps him in that mix for that 145 kind of top echelon in the Cage Warriors roster. The next fight in the welterweight division was a man who got cut from the UFC in Andreas Stahl, taking on Lewis Long, and this was a big chance for Lewis Long to get a win against an ex-UFC vet, push his name out there for a shot, and maybe chance to get signed by the UFC. Huge opportunity for him. It did not pay off. I was absolutely good because I'm a big fan of Lou, big fan. Enjoyed talking to the guy. He just did not look on point that day. I'm not taking any away from Andreas Stahl. I think Stahl had a great fight, great game plan, worked his game, applied his aggression, but Lou Long, for me, just didn't quite see the guy that I've seen him in previous fights.
Yeah, he can be a bit of a slow starter sometimes, and against some of these like more experienced guys that get on it from the word go, you know what I mean, like find their range virtually straight away, and what have you. You can't give them any sort of head start.
No, not at all.
It seemed to sort of like there was a moment towards the end of the second round where he actually looked like the tide. Had he turned the tide of it, like.
Yeah, there was moments. Yeah, he did clip it. That's the thing. It just like, and I sat there and I thought, that's the Lou Long I was expecting to see before in the first. I just feel, for me, it was like, that's what I meant, Mike. It was like, we know what he can do. We know what potentially could be pushing out, but for some reason,
unfortunately, he looked like he was acting, getting a bit deep by that time.
Exactly. And I'm gonna watch it back, that fight. I'm gonna probably speak to Lou and just have a chat with him and ask what the crack was with that. But yeah, super shame for Lou, but for Stahl. But if you're Stahl, it's great for you because you've just been cut from the UFC. You've came back against a tough opponent, got yourself a finish, got yourself that win. And he's probably got told again, get a couple of wins outside, come back. He's done it on Cage Warriors, big promotion, good idea for him. The main event though, it was a bit of a shame the way it went down, the ending, but at the same time, Jack Marshman got that submission win, Mike, against Ali Arish, who is known to be just one of those awkward, grinding, difficult fighters where he can make a fight ugly and win it. And I thought Jack looked good, but at the same time, I thought Ali got some good hands on Jack at the start. I was a bit surprised.
I was going to say, Jack seemed to be taking a few too many.
He did. He took a couple of counters, but at the same time, Jack looked in great condition. That's probably the best physical condition I've seen Jack look.
Well, military guy. His fitness is normally always on point.
Well, it's in the parachute regiment, and their fitness level is obscenely, it's obscenely high. So he had that conditioning for the army. In MMA, it is a different type of conditioning. but at the same time, he looked physically in great shape.
To listen and devote yourself to something.
Yeah, and he went off to TriStar, did some training over there. Again, we had the interview with him last week. It was great talking to him and having him on. If you want to go back and listen, folks, I suggest you do, just to hear a bit about what he was up to and what he'd been doing in that time off. He got the submission on Ali, who claimed that he did not tap, but at the same time, Jack had the guillotine on. Then Ali did the correct thing, moved to side control to take the pressure off the neck, but in doing so, in that transfer over, the cage was in the way. I don't know, I think possibly what happened was when that cage was in the way, it stopped Ali getting a full side control, which didn't take the pressure off the neck. He was slightly on a 45 degree, nearly finishing it off, but then I think the choke might have been at that point where it was coming on at the strongest point and then it relaxes when you get through it. I think Ali just felt it a bit too much at that point, thought it was going to stay there, thought the pressure was going to stay on his neck, put his hand on, you can see it clear as day, he put his hand on his thigh, open palmed, tapped his thigh twice, and the referee stopped it. Now Ali disputed it, but when everyone saw it on the replay, because no one really, you couldn't see it at first, but on the replay you saw it clear as day, and it was one of them ones where everyone just stopped siding with Ali and went with Jack, because they went, look, you got the finish.
Yeah, I tell you what, I feel that it was like one of those sort of instinctive taps. You know what I mean? Like some people, like when you get a choke on someone and they think, oh Christ, yeah, it's going to go, and they tap before they actually sort of like, let's just see how this is, what way this is going, sort of thing, But yeah, so it was the right thing to do, and I say it was a good stoppage.
It was the right stoppage because he tapped. That's all. It doesn't matter if he was going to get out of it. It was a tap. It was done. That was it. What happens now?
If somebody had tapped and the referee didn't stop it, I think people would be moaning a lot more.
I don't know what happens now with Jack. Is he going to be fighting for the vacant title? Are they going to find a match for him? Are they going to look for a middleweight? Are they going to? I don't know. I think it makes sense to put Jack in that title fight for the middleweight vacant title because Jack Hermansson himself went off to the UFC and fighting in Hamburg against Scott Askin. So we are going to see what happens in the future. I look forward to the announcement. Yeah. Let's go to UFC 199, Mike, and let's talk about the weigh-in bit now. We'll talk about the weigh-ins bit now. As Mike was saying before, the California state have a new system in place for weight cutting and weigh-ins. Prior to their regulation, like every other state, you have the weigh-ins, official weigh-ins. I think they're usually around 2 o'clock on the time zone in that place. Wherever 2 o'clock is, wherever they are, it's usually around 2 o'clock. They have the weigh-ins, or 3 o'clock, depends on. What happens is,
I think it's going to be 4, but anyway.
It was 2 o'clock in the. That's between 10 and 2, but they can weigh in, and that's it. Everyone weighs in like the official UFC weigh-ins as you see all the time. What California have done they put into place, which is a brilliant idea, is that you can weigh in any time between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and weigh in, and it's a good idea. Yeah, it's a good idea.
As soon as you make weight, you can go and replay.
Yeah.
It's I love it.
Yeah,
I think it's a fantastic idea.
I think it's something they should implement in other commissions. The only thing is, you're only going to see that in California for now. You won't see it, for example, at this upcoming UFC Ottawa card. You're not going to see it happen there, or the Titan card that's coming up. You're not going to see it anywhere else, unless they are in California. I like what they're doing. I think it's something that other commissions will probably start to implement in time. I think what the next stage is to work out what they're going to do for the weigh-in, because it looked a bit rubbish with fighters already hydrated, going on the scales in their underwear, not weighing, just hand them.
Not nervous.
No, I think what they should do is maybe have them in like a bit of in a fighter kit. I think that would probably be the smarter idea from a business perspective. Maybe make them come in their Reebok kit, like the Reebok top and pants or whatever. Take their top and pants off, have their fighter shorts on maybe, and then do the face off with the fighter. They don't need the scale. I think they should just have the face off with the fighter, and that's all they need to do.
Why am I watching that? No one's measuring the weight, like.
No, I don't mind. I didn't mind Jessica Penne doing it though. I didn't mind it when she got on the scale. It was okay that. So they can do that with her or the girls more often. That's fine. But with the blokes, I think maybe just have the standoff. Let's go to the fight results, Mike, and let's look. Before we get on to the fight results, we had John Anik come on. I spoke with John Anik about the card, the results. We talked about it a lot more. you can join in, you can listen. I put the little link up there. Listen to John Anik and I talk about the card, the whole card. But me and Mike going to look at the main card and the fights that happened there.
Yeah.
Bobby.
I just want to say on a personal level how much I enjoyed the first fight, though. By the way.
Not even the first fight. Let's just say the whole card was absolutely stellar. That card. Yeah. I think UFC 200 has a lot to live up to in standard. Doesn't matter what you can match up a great card, and it doesn't mean it's going to be great. It could be a stinker, but this card was absolutely fucking awesome to watch. It was just so good.
And it went under the radar as far as UFC numbered events. You know,
it was going to. It was bound to. It was bound to go under the radar.
People would have saved their pennies.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to 200. I'm not going to go to 199.
Because you've got UFC Fight Week. It's UFC International Fight Week. You've got free cards on that weekend as well. It's one of those ones where it was understandable that it maybe got looked on. But let's talk about the main card, Mike. Dustin Poirier kicked.
We actually laughed about it. Like, how sick would you be to be on either UFC 199 or UFC 201?
Yeah. Now, Mike.
You're getting paid more the rest of it.
Dustin Poirier fought Bobby Green in a fight that, I've said it and I'll say it again, it was a disappointing fight because of the potential great fight it could have been because of Bobby Green's silly behaviour, which I know he does it anyway, but he just looked like he kept doing it when he knew he got clipped anyway, and he just kept it up. And I think Bobby Green I'd like to find out what he was thinking because it just didn't make sense. But nothing to take away from Dustin Poirier, who since going back to 155, he's been doing exactly what he said on the tin, kicking ass, cashing checks, and he's wanting to go push, and keep going up. That his stock keeps rising every time.
Dustin is a major threat in that lightweight division.
Yeah,
you know,
huge.
He's looking so much more a better fighter than he was at featherweight, and he looked good at featherweight. You know what I mean? But he looked so much better at lightweight.
Yeah. It suits him. He went back there, and since going back to lightweight, it just suits his body more. And I think he feels a lot more confident in his body and his physical well-being and his skill set. I think he knows what he can do. Super impressed. Who they're going to match him up with next, I have no idea, because the problem he has, like he said, his little girl is on the way. I think in a couple of months. He doesn't want to be in fight camp for that. He'll probably want to have maybe a month family time. As in not in fight camp, he'll still train, but he won't be in fight camp mode, so it's a different kind of commitment. So you might have Dustin Poirier not fight for the next maybe 5 months, potentially, depending on how things go with the little one, how he feels. So I think at the moment you can't match him up with anyone because there's going to be matchups happening that will have an effect on the 155 division. You can't even say...
You only need 3 months to have a totally different division. So,
but and especially in the lightweight division, Mike. Especially in the lightweight division where it is a completely different... You know, every week it looks like it changes almost because there's so many fighters in there. So I wouldn't even bother picking a matchup for him because it's too far when he's going to come back. I'd probably talk about maybe in a couple of months' time potential fights for him, depending on what results happen. Mike, let's go then to Dan the Man. I want to be this man when I grow up. Henderson against Hector Lombard.
Yeah, he can beat me, uncle. It's things start too great for him. Got dropped and what have you, and hurt.
Well, actually, he rocked Hector, then Hector rocked him. Mike, he rocked Hector first, then Hector rocked him.
He got...
Mike, Dan rocked Hector first, then Hector rocked Dan.
Yeah.
So it did start well.
Well, what I'm saying was, like, I thought he was going to go the way that some of his fights gone sometimes lately, where I thought, hang on, he might just get stopped in this one. But
do you know what? Yeah. It showed how freakishly strong he is on the ground when you had Hector Lombard trying to get the crucifix and apply, I think it was a key lock I think it was a key lock he was trying to apply, and you saw the core strength and him able to just punch out of that submission. And Hector is a fucking ox, and it just showed like how strong Dan Henderson was to get out there and get back up. And that, honestly, I mean, cracking him with the H-bomb, cracking him with that elbow, and then going down on top of him with that elbow, I thought Hector Lombard was dead. It looked like he died on the mat.
Well, he landed the head kick, didn't he? And then like a back elbow sort of thing. And
it was just insane. It was insane. And I was so happy for him. So happy for Hector. Not for Hector, sorry, for Dan Henderson. A little bit happy because Hector came, Hector got his... I think Hector's one of those guys. He's one of the more disappointing fighters because he went into Bellator, starched everyone, came to the UFC, and just hasn't done what he was expected to do.
Except for the Barharis fight, which was like... Yeah, that's what we thought we were going to get most of the time.
Yeah.
And then he lost his fight after that, It's...
I think it was Tim Boach he'd lose to, did he?
Yes, that was his following fight.
Yeah.
It was actually on the undercard of when Faber fought Burrell.
There you go. And I tell you what though, Mike, I don't know what you do with Hector Lombard. What do you do with that guy? Because you can still match him up.
He's gone up, he's gone down, he's come, he's gone down, he's come back up again. I mean, don't get me wrong, Dan Henderson is one of those people where he can just ruin your night in just 2 or 3 seconds of success.
I hope Dan Henderson retires, Mike. I hope it's Dan's last fight.
Yeah, so he's had 2 stoppages now in his last 2 fights. I would say take a bit of time out. Let the head heal up.
Oh, Hector, yeah, definitely.
You know what man can do to your brain.
Oh, yes. And Hector's not young though, Mike. The problem, Mike, Hector's not a young kid anymore. Mike, he's old. Let's put it this way. He's not a spring chicken. It's a tough one. What do you do with him? That's my question. I think you probably could still use him because he's still a bit of a... He still probably will want to fight. For Henderson, I hope he just walks away into the sunset with that. And he's not going to get another finish like that, possibly.
So after the fight, he actually mentioned that it was the first time he would come to a fight to watch him.
Yeah.
And, he said, they're all there. He said, they're all watching me. He says, I'm not saying I am retiring. He said, this would be a good way to retire.
It would be.
So he kind of hinted, and he also hinted as well at the press conference. Having said that, he also did a big old there at Bisping, which we'll talk about.
Which was hilarious. That was hilarious. But anyway, that's not... I'm just going to squash that, Mike. It ain't going to happen.
I know. But...
It's just a silly thing to think about. Look, let's go to the next fight, Mike, because we could be here forever with this. Max Holloway, Ricardo Lamas. Max Holloway was on a level that was obscenely good. He did take a couple of shots from Ricardo Lamas. He held his ground well. At the end of the fight, the two of them standing in the middle was just one of the best bits I've seen. Just obscene. But Max Holloway, he is on a horrendously good win streak. He can't do anything more. What more can you do with this guy? He has to fight the winner of Frankie Edgar and Jose Aldo. He has to. What else can this guy do to get a title shot? He is just on another playing field.
He doesn't have to do anything else. He deserves one.
His movement, his shots, his just everything. Ricardo Lamas, I thought it was a hell of a fight for Ricardo to go into and win. I didn't expect him to, and he didn't. And it's not even to belittle him in any way. I just couldn't see him beating Max Holloway. I just couldn't see it happening.
Then again, who do you see beat Max Holloway?
Frankie Edgar.
Who a big bet on to beat Max Holloway?
Frankie Edgar, because I just love Frankie.
Yeah, but the way that Max just seems to be improving.
I agree. He is.
Your house on him against anyone.
Max Holloway is the future of that featherweight division. He is the future. He is nine fight win streak is enough in his own right, and.
Oh yeah.
And he's not fought bums. They give him everyone. They give him killers after killer. Let's go, Mike. Dominic Cruz, Uriah Faber. I said this would happen. I knew this would happen. It happened. I just couldn't see Faber doing anything. And I think when Faber got knocked and rocked in that second round, you saw Faber.
That's the bit that really surprised me. If you told me someone's going to get rocked and dropped,
I don't see why, because he rocked Mizzy.
Uriah doing it to Cruz, but it wasn't. It was the other way around.
See, I'm not shocked because Dominic did it to Mizugatti in the fight, and I think he's got power. He has got power. It's just sometimes he doesn't land a clean shot enough because he throws such unorthodox wild strikes.
Because of his movement, he's got arm in his feet and that.
But then again, look at the TJ Dillashaw fight. Look at TJ's face. He hits hard because TJ's face is a bit bruised, bit lumpy, bit messy, bit bloody. Cruz can hit hard. I think Uriah Faber, for me, there's nothing more he's going to be able to, look, he's 0-4 in title fights. What else is the point of Uriah Faber fighting? He's not going to win any titles. you say super fights at 145. What can you do at 145? Because you can't put him into a title shot. Don't even go there, Uriah. Unless you want to fight Max Holloway, that's the only fight I'd give him at 145. Because Max Holloway could maybe just steamroll him and then go, right, now who else am I going to fight? But I don't know what you do with him. For Dominic Cruz, I love the fact that he's got a line of guys now, of killers lined up in the 135 division. I look forward to seeing who wins.
I was actually going to say with Faber, I think he was somebody else that could have retired on the night as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I think there's potentially 2 retirements that night.
Yeah. Seriously, I agree.
And don't get me wrong, I love that. You know, they're 2 of my favourites. You know, so.
But there is a time to go and there's a time to end, and he's just got to accept it. And I think, and Uriah Faber's got a business already outside of this fight game. It's not like he's only fighting; he can do stuff outside of it. Let's go to the main event, Mike. It was it shows what inspiration, and it also shows that you should, no matter how or where you are at what point, never give up. You know, you should never stop giving up. You should always keep going, because it can, good things, and it can happen. And Bisping did that. Short notice, came in, fought Rockhold, who defeated him prior, and he won by literally looking at previous tape, seeing what Rockhold did wrong, and manipulating it. And he did it well, and he did it right. And Rockhold went in, though. I think Rockhold obviously went in a bit blasé, bit casual, like he was going to walk it.
Yeah.
And you can't. Why would you underestimate any fighter at any time? Why not, if you're Luke Rockhold, in my opinion, go in there like a steam train, smash your opponent, and then walk away going, got my win, I'm done, happy days. Instead of going in there cocky, like Anderson Silva did with Weidman, and then get slapped out and knocked out. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, so, Bisping, he becomes the UK's very first
UFC champion,
UFC champion.
Yeah.
And only the second UK fighter to actually fight for the title.
Yeah, Dan Hardy prior against GSP, yeah.
Yeah. So, this was history, and, it was very, very good night. It was a night to feel good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, this is why I was angry about the Ariel Helwani thing, because it kind of put a dampener on a fantastic night.
It did.
It's not a massive dampener, you know what I mean?
It took a lot of focus away from not just Bisping's story, but just the whole card in general, really.
Yeah, the whole thing. It was, as an event, it was like possibly my favourite. Well, I would say definitely my favourite of the year.
Mike, you're not the only one who said it, and John Anik feels the same, and I'm with you as well. I think that if you take away the Ariel Helwani situation, I think
it'd be a no-brainer.
We'd all I think we'd all be celebrating the card right now, still talking about it, and everyone would be talking about how some of the fights are great, and people would be going, "Oh, did you remember that fight?" And I think we'd all be celebrating in a great way. But it's a shame. I think it's a shame, but it's starting to come through now, because obviously the situation's been resolved, and I think people are starting to look at the fights again and starting to talk about what happened a bit more. And I think what's good as well, Mike, is. There's a week off from the UFC, so there's a bit more time to look at this card a bit more, because there's that gap, and I think that's a good thing as well. Again, it was a beautiful work by Michael Bisping. I'm actually going to put on the link to Luke Thomas's breakdown of how Michael Bisping finished Luke Rockhold on a technical standpoint. I'm going to put the link in there for you to watch, folks, because it's really great. It's really wonderful how he broke it down. And you should really pay attention and have a look at it. But on a whole, though, Michael Bisping got a title. He said he wants to defend his belt on home soil. Whether that will happen or not is a big question, because the UFC have certain belts which they value above others, and the middleweight belt is one that they value a little bit higher than the others in the sense of stakes of money. And they probably feel that maybe if they keep it in Vegas, or they keep it in somewhere like that, or Madison Square Garden, I think it all depends on the opponent. I think if Chris Weidman isn't fit and healthy in time for Madison Square Garden, Luke Rockhold, you could do Luke Rockhold free in England. I'm down for that. It makes sense. But Jacare as well is a possible option as well in England. I think it all depends on people's injury recovery times. I think it all depends on who it is, and it depends on where it will be. I don't know. I don't know if Bisping will get his dream of being able to defend it. I think it makes sense, because if you sit there and tell me that Bisping's going to defend that belt 10 times, I find it really hard to believe. Because those names I said alone.
But at the same time, he's done it.
Yeah.
No one can take that away from him,
No.
know. And
that's why I want him to have if he's going to have a defence in the UK, be his first one, because at least he's had a chance, and he's done that walking in his home nation, and it's happened. But then again, Joanna Jędrzejczyk would like to probably defend a belt in Poland every week. It's just one of them things. Anyway, Mike, let's move on from the UFC 199 card. It was an amazing card. It was great to watch. I think everyone should tune in and watch it if you can online. We're going to quickly just touch on the Titan FC card coming up this weekend, which is on UFC Fight Pass, which you can all tune in for and watch. There's a handful of matches I think worth mentioning out there. They're having women on their promotion. They've opened up a women's division in Titan FC. I was a bit unsure of the move at first because I think how many women are out there, how many, because it's not the deepest pool yet still, the women's divisions, but they're going for the £125. I think they're going for the flyweight division, which is a good move because the UFC are probably debating about putting that division in there, and if they do put the 125 division in, it's good for Titan to have a 125 already. So yeah, they've got it's Sarah Alfar against Karine Adam. It's going to be interesting to have the first women's fight on there. We know usually women bring on pretty malicious, scary fights, but a fight that's coming on the card is Cole Miller's brother is on the card against Kenny Gorderu. How his brother's going to perform after his brother lost this weekend, because sometimes it does. If your brother if a teammate wins, sometimes the rub can pay off, but if he loses, sometimes again that can pay off. It can rub off on you as well. So I don't know how he'll perform in that one, Mike. But then again, you've got Kurt Holloway returning after his decision loss in that tournament in Russia. He's taking on Luciano dos Santos. Kurt gone back to 155 as well. I want to see how he does at 155. I look forward to it because he could potentially look then to maybe try and get a rematch with Pat Healy from their Strikeforce days. I don't know, but my one fight I think is probably going to be entertaining from start to finish. You got Diego Lima against David Machado for the welterweight title, because Belal Muhammad went to the UFC. He's taking Alan Jabon in a short notice, but that fight alone is absolutely epic.
Yeah, props to him for taking that.
Yeah, but look, Diego Lima and David Machado, that's a hell of a scrap to have for a welterweight title fight. I'm buzzing about it, looking forward to it. I think the two of them are looking to try and put a performance on and get themselves back in that mix to get back in the UFC. And this is the right way to go about it, getting a strap around your waist.
Yeah, that's what I like about the fighters. Not scared to step up and take a few chances, so we say.
A man who he's on the cusp of a UFC contract, but he just needs to get those finishes, is Andre Harrison. I've spoke to.
That's the only thing missing from his game.
Yeah, and to be fair, he's fighting Rivero, Division Rivero. That's how it's spelled.
I think we've seen him in the UFC, haven't we?
Have we?
I think he's ringing a bell.
No.
In my head.
No.
All right.
I've never seen him in the UFC. I don't know. No, he hasn't. No, he's on though himself. Ribeiro. I'm trying to read this word Ribeiro, but he's on a win streak of his own, 4 fights, but he's got a lot of experience. So at least you've got a guy who's tried and tested. So again, for Andre Harrison, if he gets another decision, I don't think he's going to get signed against the UFC, because it's just not what they want. They want guys that finish fights, and I know he's been fighting the top guys at the moment, but he needs to start finishing the top guys to get that UFC contract. I feel for him because he's such an awesome dude, really do. He's just such a cool dude. Look, main event though, Mr. Pat Bam Bam Healy, who we had on here and interviewed. He was awesome as always, against Cavalcante, who is a renowned, experienced, suave fighter himself, who is game as they come. Is their headline in the act here. Cavalcante's fought on Strikeforce, World Series of Fighting, Dream. He's just been around. He's been around fighting on big promotions, big names. He's a big time fighter. It's going to be a good card. It's free on Fight Pass on Friday. You'd be crazy not to watch it. Crazy not to watch it.
it's a good addition to Fight Pass, you know.
It is. Fight Pass is awesome to tune into. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our look back at what happened recently. Again, I've put the cards on for the interviews. Again, if you get time, like, share, whatever this post. Awesome. We'll be back next week for just more MMA. That's the best way to put it. So thanks a lot, guys and girls, and dogs and cats and whatever. Mike, do you want to say goodbye?
Yes, and enjoy the sunshine if you're in the UK.
There you go. Enjoy the sunshine if you're in the UK. What the hell are you smoking crack, lad? It's a random thing to say.
You get like 2 weeks of it, so yeah, enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah, we'll kind of work out why I know this guy's name. He's just ringing bells.